Hey everybody, I'm Jessica. You might know me from Gameward Bound, my blog, or from Board Game Geek, I'm Albia. Thanks again to Ed for having me on his channel to talk more about solo stuff. I'm always excited to talk about this. And today, I realized I have a lot of new arrivals, either from Kickstarter or just new stuff. And as always, super excited to get this stuff in. And I wanted to go through and just share why I bought some of these things and just get more excited about talking solo and getting ready to go into this with all these new things. So this is not an unboxing video. We're going to go through just quickly as I kind of take a look at all this new cool stuff and we see what's going to be hopefully hitting my table pretty soon. We will see, but let's dive in. So the biggest package that arrived probably was this monster. Let's get it up here. The entire Petrichor collection. Collector's box, base game, bunch of expansions. Let me just pick these up. And Petrichor I got because I really love all like nature themed games and everything. I love the artwork here and the idea that we're kind of, you're a cloud, which is an interesting theme to me. So I picked up Petrichor really based on that, and then I picked up like everything for it. Promos, collector's box, base game, which I haven't even played yet. I am just super excited about this one because it's a nature-themed game, but it's not as light as a lot of the nature-themed games I have played. You might know me, I work for Pencil First Games as the sales and operations manager right now, but I also play Herbaceous and Floriferous a lot. Awesome games, nature-themed, beautiful, but kind of on the lighter side, and I really enjoy those. So Petrichor, and I know I'm picking up the expansions, but once again, this is what I'm working with here. I'm excited to play this, again, because it's that nature theme, but in a little bit of a heavier package. So I'm really excited to get that to the table, start with the base game, and then clearly I have a lot of other content to look forward to. So yes, Petrichor. What else do I have in my giant pile over here? So probably the most recent one that I picked up this week, I actually got Root, the RPG game, which is I got the core book plus the Travelers and Outsiders, which is the supplement or expansion, if you will. And I play a lot of solo board games. Solo RPGs are kind of another animal in themselves. There's board games, there's RPGs. Some people like one, some people like the other, some like both, but they're kind of, you prefer something over that. Playing an RPG solo, that I could go on and on about. There's a whole process to it, but I love Root, the board game, and I am excited to either try this solo. I say try, because solo RPGs, playing a role-playing game in that way, there's kind of a lot of tools that you have to use and go down a little bit of a different path than playing with a group, but surprise, or spoiler, I'm probably going to play that multiplayer and for a solo video. But I'm super excited about that with the different factions and just the way that this plays. I only had a chance to quickly look through it at this point, and it's really neat how the world is and how there's clearings and you have factions that kind of rule those clearings and how that affects the world and the different moves. It is a powered by the apocalypse system, which I love. But enough about that. That is Root the RPG, which I'm super, super excited about diving into as well. What else do I have? Other stuff, and some of these, I found a pile of unplayed stuff and arrivals that I got ages ago. So another one, this is for Maquis, which is a kind of a game where you're playing during World War II. You're part of the French Resistance, and you're going through these different missions, and it's a really interesting solo game. Very difficult. And I think it really captures the theme. It's a very serious theme. I shouldn't be kind of laughing here, but it really captures that well. And I grabbed the expansion for that, the expansion materials to add more to it, just to add a lot more variability and other options to it. So I am looking forward to trying this out. I still need to master the base game though. There's a few missions that I am just not great at. So that was Maquis, the new stuff. Other things that I have sitting waiting for me. You might want to cover your eyes if you don't like vegetable people. Expansions for Mr. Cabbagehead's garden. New neighbors. So there is Dante Mon right here. I mean, look at that. He's just great. Actually, I could be Monty Don here, I just realized. I'm sitting in front of a lampshade. There we go. I think we look similar, no? And then we also have Letitia Colwart. So these ones, again, when you're playing Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden, it's a game all about gardening, but there are pesky neighbors that come and visit, and you need to deal with them in certain ways. It's a very interesting game, the way that you're sort of building a garden, but then also sort of guarding against these neighbors coming in and stealing everything. These are just new ones to add. But again, there's a different combination of them. So having a new one in the mix actually adds on a lot of different options in how they interact and how one might affect another one and how it just plays out. So those should be fun to add to the neighborhood of vegetable people. Another one that I have, the expansions for Tussie Mussie, which is from Button Shy Games. It's a wallet-sized game. This one, you're kind of creating different bouquets of flowers, and kind of the meaning of flowers is in there too, which I really like that idea. The base game didn't quite hit for me, but these expansions sounded really interesting. What is this one? The Flower Shop Customers with the solo expansion. It just sounds like it added what I was hoping the base game would have. So I'm hoping that putting everything together is going to be a really fun experience to get that back to the table. Because again, if it's not apparent, I do enjoy my nature themes and really nice artwork. Combining the two is just great. And I love the yellow on this, the color of this wallet here. So awesome. Another fun thing that I should have in the mix, and hopefully to the table at some point. Digging down, there is a lot. You can see that a lot has arrived recently, and the level of excitement might be through the roof, but I mean, new stuff, come on. Another one I ordered, it was actually, I got them at the same time, so we'll kind of combine these a little bit, but there's Open Ocean. And this I actually got from the Winterhaven Woods Kickstarter. It was kind of a bundle. We'll get to that in a second. I grabbed this one because I really like, it's fish and it's the ocean. And I don't have a lot of games that actually center around that theme. I really like the artwork and kind of the idea. I have not looked at the rules for this at all, but it's really about sort of creating habitat and attracting fish. And it looks really pretty, very quick, it looks like. So that one I'm looking forward to playing hopefully soon, because I don't know why, but I just feel like right now I need an ocean-themed game. And there it is. So going off of that, there's also Winterhaven Woods, and this was the new game that I kickstarted that Open Ocean came with, which also includes this expansion. And Winterhaven Woods, this completely grabbed me by the artwork. It's just, look at this. This is just beautiful. And it's animals, and you're in a winter forest, and we are going around planting trees, hunting or stealing, populating the woods. Again, it's just a really nice nature theme. I don't know what it is. There's a ton of nature themed games right now. I'm grabbing a bunch of them. But I think it really speaks to how relaxing these themes are, and they're very approachable. It's just nice. And another reason why this really grabbed me was because it's winter themed. A lot of nature themed games are about, springtime and planting and seeing everything in full bloom. This one, it's a little more animal based, but it's also winter based, and there's not a lot of winter games out there. So Winterhaven Woods, can't wait to get that one to the table too. Going back to RPGs a little bit, I also have this giant, beautiful book called Monster Care Squad. This is another one. I sometimes will just pick up RPG books because I enjoy reading them, especially when there's fun settings. Not so much as new mechanic styles, I would say. There's sort of the ones that I'm familiar with, and nobody's really, reinventing those with everything new. But I love picking these up and just reading them and getting lost in the world. And in here, the illustrations, beautiful. The idea is that you are, it's a world populated by giant monsters, but some of them have been inflicted with an illness that's going around the land, and what's going on, and the characters that you're playing as are actually trying to solve these problems. They're trying to help the monsters. We're not going out there and saying, kill them all. This is not a combat-based one. This is let's go out there, explore the world, and let's actually try to solve these problems and cure these monsters. And it's really cool. I've been reading through this a little bit, and just finding out, there's so many different monsters that are listed in here, and some of the afflictions that can affect them. It's not like it's just a standard, they're sick, they have a fever, we have to do this. No, the things they can do are really cool. And that is a reason why I really like getting into RPGs, solo especially, is because what you're doing with these is really telling stories. I think that's the biggest difference between board games and RPGs, not to get too much off track. Board games, we're not always really telling a story. We're having fun, of course, kind of going through and saying, oh yeah, that was a neat moment, but we're not really weaving a tale that kind of continues on during that session or further on. RPGs, on the other hand, we have this whole world, and we're putting characters in it and then saying what happens to them. Did they go off on a journey and did it go well, or did they go into a town and there was some type of disaster and we had to solve it, or did something happen where we did not solve the disaster and we got chased out of town, and then what happens? But again, that's a whole other discussion about what RPGs are, at least in terms of solo for me especially. All right, still going. I told you there was a lot of stuff. So I also picked up, these are the River and Stone card decks by Beth Sobel. And I will say, kind of a secret side, they come with a stamp on them. I took it off of one just so I could open them, just because I wanted to take a look. This is not an unboxing, we're just quickly looking, because this is a deck of cards, which will make sense in a second. Guess what? It's nature-based. There's a lot of unique individuals depicted here, but there's all different sorts of animals that you'll see here and nature, and it's just really, really, really well done, beautiful. And that was what I was going to say. The secret to board games, card games in general, one of the tools that you might get the most use out of, and actually is cheaper than you might think, is a deck of playing cards. There are tons and tons of games that can be played with just a deck of cards. And I'm not talking about standard solitaire or patience that a lot of us know about, which, by the way, not a bad game in its own way. But there's tons of other ones that can be played with a deck of cards, and the benefit there is that you kind of get to choose your artwork that you want to use. And these, look at that, shiny. But you get to pick kind of the artwork and the style that works for you, so it kind of tailors that game a little bit. And you could just use the regular deck of cards that we all probably are familiar with, or you can get ones. I have a couple of artsy decks, I would say, including these, that are not super expensive. Like I'm not spending a ton of money to get something that looks really nice. You can get really nice decks of cards at a reasonable price and then use those for a lot of games. So if you are on a budget looking for something that will give you a lot of stuff to do, deck of cards. And if I can find the link, I'll include it in the description. There's actually, on Board Game Geek, there's a couple of geek lists that have a lot of games that you can play with those decks of cards. I'm sure one day I will talk about all the solo stuff, because I found some really good ones to play on there. So, we're getting there. Another one, let's see. So I picked up, there's a lot of stuff that came in the role player universe with cartographers, which I don't have. I'm not sure what I did with it, but I got a bunch of all the cartographers' new stuff, which I'm super excited about. All I could find at the moment, and this should tell you something about how big this collection is, I found a bunch of promo packs that I have that I need to add to role player and cartographers. So cool stuff. I really do enjoy, though, these sort of mini expansion packs. There's pros and cons to both, but I like just having the ability to add in a couple of cards and have that, it doesn't really affect the mix of cards as much. It's just kind of like, here's some new stuff, mix it in. If it comes out, oh cool, I've got new stuff. But I'm not like changing the game mechanics a ton. I do enjoy those types of expansions. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But these smaller decks of cards, or even, just a couple of cards that add a little bit more variety, those can be great too. And just adding more of the same can be awesome. And I am excited to get those in the game. Also, the Lockup Breakout expansion plus acrylic tiles for everybody in the game, which I should have gotten these out to actually show you how those work, but I'm excited about those. Those replace some cardboard tiles, which are great quality to begin with. These are just kind of cooler. And I have not played Lockup in ages, so this is going to be an awesome time to get this expansion came at the right time where I need to get back to the base game and remember the strategies and how to play solo. But I got this because a lot of the role player universe is the role player game, and we have, the different expansions for that. There's Role Player Adventures, which is huge right now. New and very exciting. I think Lockup is a little bit of a lesser known title in that series, and it does things differently. It's not like another role player where it's just, okay, let's take all the role player mechanics and just pop it into a different setting. No, there's a lot of different things going on, and I'm excited about this and how this is going to change up the game. Again, I have not opened this up to actually read exactly what I'm getting myself into yet. But having that expansion, this expansion, is going to be a great way to get this back to the table. And that's also sometimes why I will back expansions for games that I definitely like, right? There's some instances where I'll get an expansion for a solo game that works okay. And then if that expansion actually kind of explains the things, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? If it could do that, that would be a perfect game for me. That would make it great. So I'm going to back this for that reason. That's not in this case. This is for a game that I really enjoyed, and the mechanics that this expansion is adding, I said, oh, that would be really cool to check out and see. So a couple different reasons to pick up expansions. Bottom line, can you tell I'm excited? Let's get those out of the way. What else do I have? I think this is my last thing for the moment. Another one that I picked up, we will end with Meadow. And this was a special order from my friendly local game store because this is hard to find at the moment. But Meadow it just has, once again, surprise, surprise, watercolor nature artwork. So it's about sort of strolling through nature, seeing animals, plants, and just kind of enjoying that journey. Maybe if we get it over here, it makes a little more sense. And it has a stoat on the cover, which is pretty awesome. Not a lot of games have this type of animal, so I know a lot of people are like, whoa, that's cool, that's my favorite animal, and there's a game that has it. So Meadow I'm just excited about because, again, nature. And I think this is like the perfect time of year to be picking up a bunch of these because springtime is right around the corner up here. Winter has lasted a long time. I do have Winterhaven Woods here, but, tons of nature games. That is everything that I have right now. Super excited to get these to the table. I'm sure I'm going to be sharing some opinions on some of these as I get to them. That's always the challenge when you get everything, is getting it from the unplayed to the played category. But that is it for now. Thanks for stopping by and going through all this new stuff with me. Feel free to share what you have arriving from Kickstarter or just buying in general. Lots of cool stuff. Always fun to play solo and always fun to talk about board games. So thanks again for stopping by and take care. Bye.